What's up, guys? I'm LQ. This is the LQ Review. Thank you so much for joining me here at my YouTube channel. This is where we talk about all the geeky, nerdy stuff that we love to talk about. Movies and video games and comic books, TV shows. And right now, I'd like to give you guys my thoughts on episode 9 of Stephen King's The Stand. The final episode. So this was the end of the series. And I've been very vocal about the fact that I have not liked this series at all. I tried to, guys. I tried to like this series. I wanted to like this series. In the beginning, when they were doing the flashbacks and the flash forwards and all that kind of stuff, all this non-linear storytelling, I hated it. I hated it so much. But I still tried to like this series because this is one of my favorite stories that has ever been told in any medium. Novels, TV shows, movies, comic books, it doesn't matter. The Stand is one of my favorite stories. I love it. It literally helped to shape me into who I am today. That's how big of an impact this story has had on me. And I hated this. I hated this series and I wanted to like it so bad. And there was a couple, maybe one episode right in the middle of the season where I was like, all right, it might be turning around. This might be okay. And then it just sat back down on the toilet. And by the time episode 8 rolled around, which was The Stand, the episode 8, so episode 7 was called The Walk, and this was when they were walking from Boulder to Las Vegas. And episode 8 is called The Stand, where they stand, even though there's no standing done. There's no standing done. There's zero standing done. By the time episode 8 rolled around, it became so obvious to me that Josh Boone, nor CBS, nor Paramount, nor anybody involved in this has any understanding of Stephen King's The Stand. No understanding of it all. Honestly, if Stephen King signed off on all this crap, he doesn't understand his work anymore. Now, some people might scoff at the fact that I say that, but guys, I believe we got to a point where George Lucas did not understand Star Wars. I think we got to that point. I think a lot of people would agree with me on that. So I'm looking at The Stand right now, and if Stephen King honestly signed off on this abortion of a show, then he does not understand his work either. Not anymore. And that happens. People change over time. He's not the same person he was when he wrote it. And his viewpoint, his perspective, everything about him is different now. And it's possible that maybe he doesn't even understand the work that he wrote himself. I'm telling you, that's a possibility. Because if he signed off on it, he doesn't. He doesn't. Because whoever made this garbage does not understand The Stand. My belief is this. My belief is that, yeah, he signed off on it, but he signed off on it because he was getting a check. That's what I believe. I don't believe that he was in on the creative process for the first 8 episodes. Now, he did write a new ending for episode 9. And I'm going to talk about episode 9 in a second. And this is a review for episode 9, so of course I'm going to. But I want to talk about Stephen King's role in this, because I don't think that he had much to do with 1 through 8. Because I do believe, I want to believe, that he has not gotten to a point in his life where he doesn't understand his own work. Like I do believe about George Lucas. I believe that he took the check and said, now go make your stand. Your version of The Stand. And that's what he did. And then he wrote a new ending for them. Let's talk about the new ending, episode 9. I loved it. I loved it. Episode 9 was made by somebody that understands The Stand. It was a good ending. Now, how is that possible? How is that possible? It's still directed by Josh Boone. It's still made by CBS and Paramount. This is true, but it's a new ending written by Stephen King. Now, if you'll remember in the book, after the nuclear bomb went off, Flag was defeated, but he was not killed. In the book, he ends up in what I'm assuming is Africa, in an African tribe, and he gets them to worship him. All right, that happens in the book after his defeat. Well, that happens again in this series. We see him show up in Africa and we see him getting this tribe to worship him. That's how it ends. But we also get to see that not only is he not still alive, but he's still a presence. he tempts Franny. Franny falls in the well, and he tempts her. And, the evil will always still be there to tempt us. And that's kind of where I think they were going at here. I don't think when we're looking at Randall Flagg in the context of The Stand, I don't think it's the same character from the Dark Tower series. I don't think it's the same character, in the overarching mythology of the novels. I don't think that's what we're dealing with here. I think we're dealing with a very localized story in The Stand, where none of that other stuff exists. This is a demonic entity. It's not a wizard type personality. And this demonic entity wants to be worshipped. And it wants world control and world domination. And when it gets defeated by, I guess you can call that God. Again, it was nothing like it should have been. It was a cloud. It was a cloud with lightning coming out of it. If you guys want to see how much I hated episode 8, just go watch that episode. I'm not going to get into it here. Episode 8 was pure, total garbage. It was one of the worst adaptations of a book it was the worst adaptation of a book I've ever seen in my life. It was garbage. All right. But what I appreciate about episode 9 was that it understands the story goes on. The fight against evil is never going to stop. And if Randall Flagg was a demonic entity, he might have been defeated here on Earth, but he's still going to go on. And that's what we got here. Now, in episode 8, I hated the fact, I despised the fact that Larry and Ray did not die on their feet. It's called The Stand, for goodness sake. They weren't supposed to die on their knees, but I also hated the fact that they didn't hear Mother Abigail's voice at the end, saying, "You've done good, come on home." Man, we were supposed to hear Mother Abigail say that, right? "You've done good, now come on home." That was their vindication, right? That was them being told, "We did it. We stood. We succeeded." Before they were taken out of this world, they heard Mother Abigail's voice and they were told, "You won." That was the purpose of Mother Abigail's voice, saying, "You've done good, now come on home." I hated that wasn't in there. I hated it. Again, Josh Boone does not understand The Stand. Doesn't get it. Probably doesn't even care to. But in episode 9, we did get a return of Mother Abigail, but it was a little bit different, right? She came back in the form of a young girl, who was there specifically to save Franny after falling into the well. And to some degree, I liked that. I liked the idea that in the context of The Stand, God was thinking ahead. And God knew that Franny would be tempted. So yeah, God was thinking far enough ahead to know that Franny's going to fall, she's going to be tempted, she's going to overcome that temptation, but now we've got to have a conduit to heal her, so that she can then create this second free zone, and she can bear those 5 children, and then they will bear whatever, and then they'll bear whatever, and then we'll have a new society. That's his whole purpose now, is replenishing the earth, but also understanding that there's going to be this constant fight against evil. The fight isn't over. And they even touched upon it in the episode, how there will be eventually there's going to be murder, there's going to be theft, this stuff is going to come back. We are fallen people, and as fallen people, the evils of the world, they didn't go away. So as much as I hated this series, and by golly, I hated this series, and I'm never going to watch it again because it just makes me angry to think about it. Episode 9 was pretty good. It was made by somebody who understands The Stand. And that makes sense because it was written by Stephen King. And my guess is that they did a pretty faithful adaptation of whatever he wrote, because obviously this is something that he wrote for the screen. So my guess is they did a pretty faithful adaptation of it. Therefore, for those reasons, episode 9 was the best, by far the best episode of The Stand. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough to save the series. The series is hot garbage. The series is hot garbage. All right? My dog deposits nicer stuff in my backyard. So yeah, episode 9, I really liked it, but it wasn't enough to save the series. What did you think of episode 9 of The Stand? Let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear your take on it. I'd love to have a conversation about it. What did you think of The Stand overall? Am I being too hard on it? Let me know what you think. While you're down there leaving a comment, make sure that you subscribe to my channel. I put out a lot of content, and I want to make sure you're up to date with everything that I'm doing. And as always, thank you so much for joining me here at the LQ Review, where we get to talk about all the geeky, nerdy stuff that we love to talk about. And until next time, we'll see you guys later.